Hello guys, this is Vikram and welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll see what is container scanning and why this is very crucial step in the DevSecOps, especially for early detection of container vulnerabilities before deploying our applications inside the production clusters. As we all know that the containers are the de facto standard for deploying our applications, either inside the cloud or on-prem. They solve many issues while deploying our applications, especially they provide the same runtime environment across various deployments. That means that the testing team can use the same Docker image which was built by the development team for testing their application without needing for downloading additional dependencies or running into any dependency issues. But like any other technology, there is also a dark side to the containerization technology, especially when the containers and the base image that we use in the containers has some vulnerabilities that leaves the main container open for various attacks. Containers are increasingly becoming popular these days, especially all the applications are now being containerized and are being run using the container runtime environments. But at the same time, they also present some security risks that potentially can cost businesses millions of dollars due to hackers gaining access to the valuable data that is running inside the containers. Containerization is one of the core stages in the complete DevOps process where our application will be containerized. But at the same time, we have to take care about the security on a very serious note. A container image can pack many bugs and security vulnerabilities, which gives hackers an ample amount of opportunities to gain access to the valuable data that is running inside the containers. And this potentially causes businesses millions of dollars due to their data being exposed to the outside world. Hence, it is very crucial to scan and audit the container images at regular stages in the complete DevOps process. Considering security into consideration, the DevSecOps process plays a very important role in adding security to the DevOps process, including scanning of the images and containers for bugs and vulnerabilities on regular basis. So when building Docker images, we are often concerned of two major things. One is the size of the image and the other one is the security. So throughout this video, we'll see how can we reduce the size of the image by employing various techniques like the multi-stage builds, using the Alpine images or the distroless images. And at the same time, we'll see how the size of the image can affect the security of that image. So with rising security threats, eliminating all possible attack vectors is more important than ever, especially when all the organizations are now moving to the cloud and their applications are being containerized and being run as containers under container runtime environment. A container image is composed of several layers. We had seen in the earlier videos that we can use Dockerfile to make custom Docker images, and we can have multiple layers as a part of that Docker file. Every instruction that we put in the Docker file creates a different layer inside the Docker image, and each one of them could be a potential source of a vulnerability. So scanning each and every layer is more important than ever, and especially it is very crucial step in the DevSecOps process. The smaller the container images, they have the lesser chance to get exposed because they eliminate most of the dependencies and the utilities from the final image. Smaller Docker image. Container images should be as small as possible. They should pack only your application code and the dependencies needed for that application to run. And we need to delete everything apart from the application and its dependencies to bring down its size. The smaller the image is, the lesser is the attack surface since we are removing most of the dependencies and utilities from the Docker image. So that makes the Docker image much smaller and it is less vulnerable. Larger images can have more software vulnerabilities, especially in the form of the dependencies, where we don't care about the inbuilt dependencies in the Docker image. Those inbuilt dependencies can potentially have security holes that leaves your container vulnerable. It is always better to use Alpine based images. These Alpine based images are very small and very light Linux distributions that only have the files and dependencies needed to run your application, and they will not pack any system utilities like the apt, em, or networking utilities like ping. This makes the Alpine images much smaller and less prone to attacks. But why smaller Docker images? So the first thing is they pack very few system utilities. Let's say some of them will only have the shells like the bash or sh, but they will not pack any networking utilities like the curl or ping. At the same time, smaller images can be moved much easier and faster. They can be pushed into repositories very easily, and at the same time, during the CI/CD process, we can pull them very easily due to them being smaller in size. Smaller containers are also very efficient in using the underlying host machine's disk space and memory due to running less number of processes inside them, as we are removing the extra utilities or the processes inside the containers, so they always run only one process, that is the main application process. So we are saying that the smaller images are less vulnerable for the attacks, but how do we make such smaller images? So we can make smaller images by using the Docker file and following some of the best practices while writing the Docker file. So we can avoid the overhead of scanning the Docker images for detecting vulnerabilities, investigating any security concerns, and reporting them and fixing them later after the deployment is done. But this thing can be prevented much earlier by following some of the best practices in writing the Docker file for building the Docker images. So some of the best Docker file practices include not running the containers as root, avoiding copying unnecessary files. So the containers should pack only the necessary code and dependencies. It should not have any extra files or the utilities. So we can avoid copying unnecessary files into the Docker using the Docker ignore. We can also merge multiple layers into a single layer, and then we can also use Alpine or Distroless images as base image to make Docker image much smaller. At the same time, we can also use multi-stage build to further reduce the size of the image. We can also include health checks so that the containers are always checked for its healthiness. We can also avoid exposing unnecessary ports. We should expose only the necessary ports that are needed for the application to run. And it is always a best practice not to hard code any credentials or provide any sort of credentials in the Docker file. And for building the smaller Docker image, it is always necessary to choose the correct base image. Docker Hub hosts more than 7 billion repositories as of now, but not all images are secure. Some of the images can be malicious, created by following poor practices in writing the Docker file, and this could lead to vulnerabilities being packed into the final Docker image. But some images can be very old, especially with the unmaintained code and unmaintained packages, and these could also pack vulnerabilities into that Docker images. Let's start by scanning a standard Docker image from Docker Hub. We had used Anchor scan to scan the Python image for any vulnerabilities. So as you can see from the output is that there are more than 7 critical vulnerabilities packed into the standard Python image, and this Python image is directly taken from the Docker Hub. At the same time, if you use the slim version of the same Python 3, we can see that there are no critical vulnerabilities packed into that slim Python image. So using the slimmer images is always better than using the full distribution images like Python, Ubuntu or the CentOS. So we can further reduce the size of the images by using multi-stage builds. In the multi-stage builds, in the first stage we build the application or the artifact, and then we take the artifact from the first stage and copy into the second stage. Each of these stages will have a from or a base image, so that defines how the application has to be run. So using the multi-stage builds, you can further reduce the size of the image and we'll get much cleaner and leaner Docker images. What if multi-stage build doesn't reduce the size of the image? In this case, we can reduce the size of the image by removing the unwanted binaries and utilities like the yum, apt, npm, bash, curl, ping, etc., leaving only the required dependencies and the final artifact. We know that the container images will only run a single process, that is your application process, and they should not run any other process like the bash or the shell process. We can try to have one PID, which is the PID1, and that PID1 should belong to the main application process. But still, if we don't have any change in the final Docker image, or if it is still packing container vulnerabilities, we can use Alpine images as the base image because Alpine images are very smaller in size and they have very small system utilities and the dependencies packed in. And also we can use Distroless images, which is a project from Google. So we'll see what are Alpine images and what are Distroless images. We'll use both these are the base images and we'll try to build the application and we'll scan them. Alpine Images. Alpine Linux is a very small Linux distribution built around BusyBox. It is just about 5 MB in size, which makes it a great base image for building production-ready applications. By using Alpine Linux as the base image and only adding the necessary dependencies and artifact, we will get much smaller and cleaner Docker images. So being shown in the screenshot over here, I have taken an application which is a Maven based application and I have written two Docker files to containerize them. So in the first Docker file, I have taken a complete Maven distribution image, so which is Maven 3.6, and I have copied all the source files and I have used MVN to build the Docker image. So the final Docker image size that I'm getting in this case is 594 MB. But if I'm using the same Maven based Docker image, but this time I've used Alpine based image and I've used this Docker file to build the final Docker image. In this case, I'm getting around 190 MB. So you can see the huge difference between the sizes, especially when you're using Alpine as the base image. Distroless images. So distroless images are pioneered by Google to improve the container security and its size. They are usually language focused Docker images and they will not have any operating system distribution and utilities like the yum, apt, curl, bash, sh, etc. They contain only your application and its runtime dependencies and nothing more than that, including the package managers, Linux shells, or any programs that can potentially increase the size of your Docker image. So this approach creates a much cleaner and leaner Docker images that are smaller in size, and they'll have very small attack surface. So that can reduce the compliance scope and which will also increase the security. Google has published a set of distress images for almost all programming languages. So we'll see what are distress images available in the official GitHub repository by Google. So what are the benefits of using distress images are they improve the container security because they will not have any operating system distributions, and it will also reduce the container size due to it. It reduces the compliance scope and it also improves the container distribution and performance. Since these container images are very smaller in size, so we can easily upload them into a remote repositories and we can pull them during the CI/CD processes. But what is the difference between distillers and Alpine image? As we mentioned that Alpine images are itself giving a smaller Docker image. In this case, why we have to go for the distillers images when we have the Alpine images already? So the issue with the distillers images are they will not have any shells for debugging. That means that if I want to run any command inside the Docker image or the Docker containers, I cannot go into the Docker container because of the absence of shell for debugging. So being shown in the screenshot over here, I'm using Node 8 Docker image and I'm starting it as a container. Then I'm executing bash command inside the container. So as soon as I execute bash, immediately I got the command prompt or shell prompt. But at the same time, if I use the distress image and if I try to execute bash inside the container, so the container runtime is throwing an exception that the bash is not found in the path. It is same as the issue with the shell. It is also not available in the distress image. So that is the difference between distress and Alpine images. Alpine images will have the debugging utilities like your shell, but the distress images will not have anything. That makes distress images much safer to use in the production. So now we understood how to reduce the size of the image. Now let's see what are the different container security tools. So these container security tools scans the containers for any vulnerabilities and monitor them regularly for any sort of attack or issues. They mostly work on scanning installed operating system utilities packages, and they compare them with the CVE, which is a open source database for common vulnerabilities and exposes. So throughout this video we'll see how container security tools use the reference of the CVE to give the final analysis result. Some of the container scanners include Anchor Engine, which we will be seeing in this video. We also have Claire, Trevi, Twistlock, Cilium, Black Duck, etc. Anchor Engine. Anchor Engine is a container static analysis tool for inspecting container security using the CVE based database, and also it uses the user defined policies. In addition to using CVE based security reporting, Anchor Engine also evaluates all the Docker images using the custom policies defined by the user. The final policy results in either a pass or a fail outcome. That means that if the outcome is a pass, that container is safe to use in the production, or the container packs very less container vulnerabilities. But if it is a fail, that means that we have to go back and remove all the vulnerable dependencies and again run the security scan to get a pass outcome. Anchor Engine is open source project that provides a centralized service for the container inspection, analysis, and your certification of the container images. It can either run as a standalone Docker container inside a Docker host, or we can deploy them inside the Kubernetes as well. And it has both enterprise and open source version. So in this video, we are using the open source version to scan various Docker images. Anchor Engine, also known as an Anchor Scanner, is a core service of Anchor that can be accessed directly through a RESTful API, or we can also use Anchor CLI to talk to the Anchor engine. So how does Anchor works? Anchor essentially has various phases for analyzing each and every Docker image. In the first stage, it will fetch the image content and it will extract it, but it will never run as a Docker container. In the second stage, it will analyze the image by running a set of Anchor analyzers, and then it will classify the metadata as much as possible. It will also save the analysis results inside a database for future auditing and usage purposes. And finally, it will evaluate all the policies again as the analysis results and either gives the pass or a fail outcome. It also takes care of updating its own database with the latest external CVE, and it will also notify users for any changes to the policy valuations. It will keep on repeating the update and notify process to ensure that it always has the latest CVE database. Installing Anchor CLI. So we can install Anchor CLI using any of the package managers. So in this video, we'll be seeing how to install it using pip, which is a package manager for Python. And in order to install Anchor Engine, we will be needing a Docker Compose because we'll be having a Docker Compose file to bring up the complete stack. So it is always necessary to have the Docker Compose installed in the local machine. And for installing Anchor CLI, we have the Docker Compose file. Simply do Docker Compose up to bring up the complete stack. So by default, the Anchor CLI tries to connect to Anchor engine on port 8228 without any authentication. But we should also need username and password and proper URL to talk to the Docker engine. If you are not providing the username and passwords, you are not authorized to access the Docker engine. But we can provide the username and password directly on the command line, or we can also use the environment variables so that Anchor CLI can read them while talking to the Anchor engine. And then we can add the container image for analysis using the Anchor CLI image add option. Then we can use the wait option to see whether the image is analyzed or it's still in the process of analyzing. We can also see the list of images added to the analysis process using Anchor CLI image list. And then we can see the results of the scan using the image VLUN or image one option. And then to run a final policy check, we can use Anchor CLI evaluate check and with the hyphen details option to see the detailed analysis result. So now let's go to the hands-on section where we'll be dockerizing multiple applications and we'll be running security scans. So I've created a GitHub repository for the complete demo. I have the Docker Compose file that can bring the complete Docker engine. I also have various applications which are based on Maven and Node.js. I'll be using the Docker files to containerize these applications and then run Anchor security scan on top of them. I'm using the Minikube cluster as the Docker engine because I don't have Docker installed in my system. So I'll be using the Docker daemon, which is already running in the Minikube cluster. I'm in the Anchor GitHub page. If you scroll to the bottom, you can see various other repositories like the Anchor Engine and Anchor CLI. I'm in the Anchor Engine GitHub page. So inside the Anchor Engine, you can find the various installation steps. So you have to curl this Docker Compose file and then you have to use Docker Compose up to bring up the complete application stack. And then you have various configurations related to the Anchor CLI. You can also add image to the Anchor engine using the image add, and then you can use the wait to see whether the image is analyzed or it in the analysis stage. Then you can list all the images that are added to the Anchor engine and then find the vulnerabilities, etc. And if you go to the Anchor CLI page, you will see how to install Anchor CLI using various package managers. So I'll be using the pip package manager, that is pip install Anchor CLI will install the Anchor CLI in my local machine. So this is about the Anchor engine and Anchor CLI. So now let's see various digitalized images released by Google for containerizing your applications. So if you scroll to the bottom, you can see various digitalized images released for various applications. So we have for the Java, Python 3, Golang, Node.js and Rust. We also have some generic ones which are Debian based. If I just click on the Java, so I'll be directly taken to the Java Docker file, and as you can see here that there is a distillers image which is based out of Java 11. So we'll see how to dockerize the Java application using the Google's distillers image, and let's see how the container scan results in the much neater and cleaner Docker image. So as you can see here, I've cloned the complete GitHub repository and I also have various folders for Maven and Node.js. I have Docker Compose file that will deploy the Docker engine inside a Docker host, and I've listed out all the steps that are needed for this demo to work inside a readme.md file. Let's go ahead and see each and every folder. Inside the Maven, I have three different folders. So one is on Alpine, the other is for the multi-stage, and the other one is for the single stage. So let's expand each and every folder and see the contents. So inside each folder, I have a Docker file and a pom.xml file. So this pom.xml file will have all the dependencies and the group ID, the artifact ID, etc. So we are not going to look into the pom.xml file for now. If you see the single stage Docker file, I'm just taking Maven 3.6 as the base image and I'm copying all the content and just running the Maven clean package to package my complete application. And I'm using the CMD as Java-jar to run the final Java application when you run the Docker image as the Docker container. So we'll be containerizing all the applications and we'll be comparing the final image sizes. So if I go to the multi-stage build and if I see the Docker file, so I'm using the multi-stage builds here. In the first stage, I'm using the Maven as the base image, then I am packing my complete application. And in the second stage, I'm taking the package out of the first stage and I'm using the OpenJDK and that to Alpine version to pack my application. So we'll also dockerize this application and see what is the final image size. In the third folder, I have the Alpine based Docker file where I'm using Maven 3.6, that to Alpine as the base image, and then I'm packing my whole application. So we have seen three ways of packing your application. One is using the single stage, the other one using the multi-stage, and the third one using the Alpine stage. But there is one more way of doing it, that is using the distress image. So what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste the single stage folder, and then I'll rename it as distroless, and let's see how to make some changes to the application to make it and to use it a distress image. So if I go back to the official documentation of the Google distress images, and if I just scroll to the bottom of the page, so there is something known as zip. Okay, so this zip is used to generate Docker images for Maven and Gradle. So I'll just click on the Google Container Tools by Zip. So this is the Zip GitHub page. So if you scroll to the bottom, there is a quick start section. So where it will show how to Dockerize your application. Inside a setup section, it is asking me to add a plugin to the pom.xml file. So I'll just take this plugin over here, and then I'll copy into the pom.xml file inside the distress folder which I have just created. So I'm in the pom.xml file inside the distress images, and then I'll go to the build section, and then I'll add an extra plugin. So this is a plugin that that I should add, and then I have to change the configuration. So in order to use the Google's container registry, I have to add this configuration, but I wanted to add the Docker Hub repository. So what I'll do is inside the configuration section, I'll use my Docker Hub account, and then I'll name my application to it. So if you go back to the pom.xml file inside the configuration section, so inside the pom.xml file inside the configuration, I have to rename this name over here that will point to my Docker Hub repository. So I've already done it, and I've already pushed it to the GitHub repository. So inside the Maven, I have the distress folder. Inside the pom.xml file, if you see the plugin configuration for the zip maven plugin, so I've added the image as my Docker Hub repository name along with the image name which I wanted to tag it. So I will do the same thing here. I'll just copy paste from here, and then I'll replace it the default name with the my Docker Hub account followed by the image name which I wanted to give. So in this case, I'm using Maven Distress as the image name. So now once the pom.xml changes are done, so there is no need of Docker file over here because the distress image is using memvian commands to build the final Docker image. So I've listed out the steps for building the Docker images inside the Maven folders readme.md file. So what I'm doing here is I'm going into each and every folder, and then I'm using the Docker build commands to build and tag the images. So for the single stage, I'm renaming it as Maven single. Similarly, for the Alpine image, I'm naming it as Maven Alpine. For the multi-stage, I'm naming it as Maven multi-stage. So there is a small typo over here. So it is Maven multi-stage. You can see here, I've named it correctly here. And then inside the distress, what I have to do is I have to go to the distress folder, cd into the distress folder, and once I make changes to the plugin, I have to run mvn compile zip build. So once I do this mvn compile zip build, so what happens is mvn build the Docker image, and it will push the Docker image to the repository. So for this to happen, you have to log in into your Docker Hub account using the Docker login command. So before running any of the commands, it is always advised to use Docker login and authenticate yourself to the Docker Hub account. So once you do this mvn compile zip build, so the image will be built and it will be automatically pushed to your GitHub repository. So now once I have the four images built, so one is the Alpine image, one is a single build, the other one is multi-stage build, and the fourth one is the distress image build. I can run any of the application using the Docker run -d, and internally the container is running on 8080, and then you use the appropriate image to run the Docker container, and then you can see the output using the Minikube IP colon 80. Since in my case I'm using Minikube, so in your case you can use any of the IP inside the cluster. And then if I have to compare the image size after the building all the images, you can see that for the single stage build, I'm getting 594 MB as the Docker image size, and for the multi-stage, I'm getting just 100 MB. For Alpine based images, I'm getting 190 MB. For the distress, I'm getting slightly more, which is 242 MB. So what we'll do is we'll add all these images to the Anchor engine and perform security analysis. So this is about building all the Maven based images. So let's go back to the Node.js based images as well. So now let's see about the Node.js images as well. So inside the Node.js folder, I have the various Docker files, one for the Alpine, the other one for Distroless. I have one for multi-stage and I have one for the single. So there is a package.json file and there is a server.json file which will just serve hello there, welcome to DevOps Made Easy output when you hit the URL at slash endpoint. And then I have the various Docker files. So let's see the Docker file single stage. So it is using Node 8 as the base image, and then I'm copying all the contents and running npm install to install all the dependencies, and I'm using npm start as the command. If I go to the multi-stage builds, I'm using two stages, where in the first stage I'm downloading all the dependencies. In the next stage, I'm running the final artifact. So now if I go to the Alpine based Docker file, I'm using Node 8 Alpine as the base image, and then same using the multi-stage builds in this case as well. If I go to the Distroless Docker file, it is using the Google Distroless Node.js image, where in the first stage I'm just downloading all the dependencies. In the second stage, I'm copying all the dependencies into the second stage. But inside the second stage, I'm using the Distroless image from the Google. So now inside the readme.md file, I have various steps to build the each and every Docker image of the Node.js and then pushing them to the Docker Hub. It is necessary to push all the Docker images both for the Maven and Node.js because Anchor CLI will download them from the Docker Hub and then it will run the security scan. So it is always advised to push all the Docker images that you are building into the Docker Hub. And then similarly to the Maven based images, we can also run the Node.js based images by simply running Docker run. And then if you compare the Docker image size for the various builds, if you see that the single stage build is occupying 904 MB of Docker image, and the multi-stage build it is more or less the same. But in case of an Alpine based distribution, it is just under 75 MB. And in case of a distroless image, it is just 125 MB. So as you can see that there is huge difference in between the sizes. So that's why we can run security scans on top of all the images to see whether there are any container vulnerabilities in any of these Docker images. So that's it about the building the Docker images for both Maven and Node.js and then pushing to the Docker Hub. So let's see how to install Anchor engine and then we'll see how to install Anchor CLI and configure it to talk to Anchor engine. I have here Minikube cluster which is up and running. If I just do Minikube status, you can see that Minikube is up and running, and if I just do docker ps, so there are a lot of containers running inside the cluster. And then if I do ls, I can see the docker compose file which is for deploying the docker engine. So I can just deploy the docker engine by just running docker compose up -d. But in my case I've already ran this command and the docker engine is up and running. I can now use docker compose ps to see the running status of each and every component or the service inside this docker compose. You can see that all the containers are up and running and they are healthy. Now referring to the documentation that is uploaded to the Git, I've already started the Minikube cluster and then I've downloaded the Docker Compose and I also downloaded the Docker Engine Compose file and I've already uploaded it. So you can also see the status of all the services inside the Docker Compose file by just running Docker Compose exec and each of the service. If I just copy this command and run it inside the cluster, you can see that all the components are up and running and there is a engine database and there is a code version also being shown in the output. So now my Anchor engine is up and running. So let's see how to install Anchor CLI. I can use pip install Anchor CLI to download the Anchor CLI, or you can also refer to the links which are there in the documentation to see various other processes to download and install Anchor CLI. So in my case, I've already ran pip install Anchor CLI to set up the Anchor CLI. Now if I just do Anchor hyphen CLI and hyphen hyphen help, you can see the help section of the Anchor CLI. This indicates that Anchor CLI is up and running. Now if I have to check the connectivity between the Anchor CLI and the Anchor engine, I can run the simple curl command to the Anchor engine to find out whether engine is up and running. So just copy pasted the command. So the IP address over indicates it's the Minikube IP address. So you can see that the engine is running with the V1. Now if you see here, the Anchor CLI also needs the username and password. The default username is admin and the password is foobar, and also it needs the URL to the Anchor engine. So I can just run this complete command to see whether I'm able to connect to the Docker engine or not. So if you see here, I'm able to connect to the Docker engine if you do not provide the username and password, so you'll be unauthorized. So let's just remove the username and password and see. So here why it is still giving me the output is I've already set the environment variables earlier. So if you don't have the environment variable set, and if you're not providing the username password at the command line, so you will be getting the unauthorized option. So in this case, I already have the Anchor environment variable set, so I don't have to use username, password, and the URL information. Simply, I can just do Anchor CLI system status to find the system status. So I'm just doing Anchor CLI system status to see the complete system status of the Anchor CLI. So let's go ahead and add the images for the scanning. I have here the complete list of commands that I'll be using. The first thing is you have to use image add to add any Docker image. Then you can list out all the images added to the Anchor Anchor engine, and then you can use the wait command to see whether the engine has analyzed the Docker image or not. And then you can find all the vulnerabilities using vuln. Then you can run the security check using evaluate check. I have here all the images for the Maven, so I can just add all the four different types of image builds, and then I can use the wait option, then I can use the vulnerability of check and the policy evaluation check, etc. And the same I can do for the Node.js as well. Since I've already added to the Docker engine because the scanning takes a lot of time, so in order to save the time I've already added and the analysis is already available. So if I just do Anchor CLI image list, I can see that there are many images. Okay, so there are many images added to the Anchor engine. One of the images has a failed analysis, but that is completely fine. Okay, so if you see there are many other images that are analyzed. Since I'm running Minikube, I'm running low on system resources, so sometimes this analysis will fail. So that is not a problem for us. As you can see from the output, some of the images are already analyzed. So now if I want to see vulnerabilities in a Docker image, I can just do Anchor CLI image vuln. Okay, by the way, I can also use wait option to see whether the Anchor engine has finished analyzing or not. So it is image wait and the name of the image. You can see the status as analyzed. So now I'll run the same command, but this time it is image vuln to see all the vulnerabilities packed. So I'm just reducing the font. So I should also pass the all as the flag. So now you can see here that there are so many vulnerabilities that are packed into that Docker image. So that Docker image that we have just seen is Maven Alpine. So we know that Alpine image resulted in a very smaller Docker image, but at the same time, if you see here, there are a lot of vulnerabilities packed. And if I just scroll to the up, there are high number of vulnerabilities. So there are some critical level vulnerabilities, there are high level vulnerabilities. So these are the vulnerabilities that are available inside the Alpine image. But if I just do the distroless image, so let's see if I have the similar set of vulnerabilities. So if I see the distroless, so if you see the severity level, there are no critical levels. There are just two high level vulnerabilities, and the rest all are either medium or non negligible. Okay, so this is the difference between using a distroless image and the Alpine or single stage builds, where I can reduce the number of vulnerabilities that goes into a Docker image. So now what I will do is I'll just run policy check on top of distroless image with Anchor CLI evaluate check option, and then just remove the all. So if you are not sure about this command, so it is already pasted in the documentation over here. It is Anchor CLI evaluate check and any of the Docker image name. So if I run this check over here, you can see that the status has failed because it is packing some vulnerabilities. So we don't want this image to be used for the production. So this status has failed. But also you can use the custom policies to make it a pass, but this is beyond the scope of this video. And then I'm using the Maven simple, which is a single stage build, and I'm running. So it is saying, sorry, it is not single, it is single, it is not simple. Okay, now you can see that the status for that also is failed, And then if I see for the other images as well, like the MS, which is a multi-stage build, so this is also failed. So you can see that none of the images are standard enough to be used for production because the security scan failed. So similar is for the JS based images also. If I do Node-MS, which is multi-stage, I think it is Node.js MS. Okay, so let's see what is the image. Okay, it is Node MS OS. Okay, so let's evaluate policies on each and every node based image that we have built. So if I run the policy check on the node single, you can see that that is passed. So the node single has passed. If I just see the distro less, so let's see whether it is passed or failed. This has failed. And then if I just see the MS, again the analysis failed for this. If I just see the Alpine, so even this is also failed. So this is the analysis result, which can be either pass or fail depending upon the vulnerabilities that the containers pack. So now let's scan the standard Docker images and see how these respond. So what I did is I've added Python, Python 3, Slimbuster, and the Node.js, and the distro-less Node.js, OpenJDK image, and the distro-less OpenJDK image. So now let's compare the difference between the Python 3, Slimbuster, and Python and see whether these are passing the policy analysis or not. So I have already added and run the evaluation check. Now I'll see the results for both the Python and Python 3 Slim Buster. So if you see for the Python, the status is failed, but for the Python Slim Buster, the status has passed. Okay, so for the Slim Buster images pack the lesser vulnerabilities, but the Python, the full distribution pack so many vulnerabilities that the status is coming as false. So now let's see the difference between Alpine and Distress images. As we had discussed earlier, Alpine images will have the extra debugging utilities like the bash or shell, but the Distress images will not have them. So I'll just run this command, which will just start a Docker container for Node.js. Okay, if I just run this command, now if I use Docker exec -it, and then the name of the image is, or the name of the container is node, and then if I try to run the bash as the process, you can see that I am inside the container. And then if I just exit it, and if I and I'll just kill the container, which is rm-f node, and now this time I'll run the distroless node.js image, and I'll try to get into the container. Now if I run the same command, which is docker exec -it node, because node is the name for the newer distroless image, and then if I run the bash as the process, you can see that so the bash is not found in the path. Similar is the case with the sh. The shell is also not found in the executable. So that's the reason. So distroless images doesn't pack any debugging utilities, but Alpine images does. So that's it for this video, guys. If you like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also join our Facebook group. The links are given in the description below. You can also scan the QR code being shown on the video to directly point to the YouTube channel and Facebook group. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.